Your soulmate tossed and turned all night. You need to hear this, my beloved soul. Tonight, I want you to sit with me for a moment. Take a breath. Feel your heartbeat. Because what I am about to tell you isn't just a message, it is something your spirit has been sensing long before your mind understood it. Your soulmate could not sleep last night. They tossed. They turned. They shifted under the weight of thoughts they couldn't silence. Their heart kept pulling them toward something. Or rather, someone, and that someone was you. They didn't expect this connection to grow this strong. They didn't expect your presence to live inside their mind even when the world around them became quiet. But last night, something changed inside them. It was like every memory, every feeling, every unspoken emotion rose to the surface all at once. And that is why you need to hear this. Because the reason behind their restless night has everything to do with you. My beloved soul, your soulmate has been carrying a silent storm inside them. All day yesterday, they acted normal. They smiled. They laughed. They worked. They spoke to others like everything was fine. But when the night came, when the world grew silent and their mind finally had space to breathe, they felt everything they'd been trying to ignore. They kept seeing your face as if it was imprinted on the back of their eyelids. They kept hearing your voice even when there was no sound in the room. They felt the energy of your absence stronger than the presence of anyone around them. Something inside them whispered, "Why does my heart react like this every time I think of them?" And that question was the beginning of their sleepless night. They turned onto their left side thinking maybe it would help. It didn't. They rolled onto their right side hoping distraction would give them peace. It didn't. They sat up, ran their fingers through their hair, and whispered into the emptiness, "Why am I feeling this? Why now? Why them?" But deep inside, they knew the truth. They weren't losing sleep because of stress. They weren't losing sleep because of fear. They weren't losing sleep because of the world. They were losing sleep because their heart was finally speaking the truth they've been avoiding for so long. They care for you, more deeply than they expected. And last night was the first time they allowed themselves to feel it completely. My beloved soul, this person is not just someone you crossed paths with. They are not a random chapter in your story. They are not a coincidence. They are a soul that has been tied to you long before either of you had bodies, names, or memories. Your energy calls theirs in ways they can't explain. And that calling was louder than ever last night. It wasn't just longing. It wasn't just missing you. It was a realization. A truth that hit them so strongly, they couldn't push it away anymore. They realized you matter to them more than they were ready to admit. And that scared them. Not in a negative way, but in the way love always scares us when it becomes real. Somewhere around midnight, your soulmate sat at the edge of their bed with their head in their hands. They whispered to themselves, "Why can't I let them go?" But the universe answered them through the beating of their own heart. It said, because they were never meant to let you go. Every time they tried to detach, their spirit pulled them back to you. Every time they tried to distract themselves, their thoughts brought you back. Every time they tried to silence their emotions, their soul grew louder. Last night wasn't just insomnia. It was awakening. Your soulmate finally began to understand the depth of this connection. They finally realized you are not replaceable. You are not temporary. You are not a passing feeling. You are the one their heart recognizes, even when their mind tries to deny it. My beloved soul, they kept replaying the moments you shared. They remembered your smile, not just how it looked but how it made their heart soften. They remembered your words, how your voice somehow felt like home even on days when everything felt overwhelming. They remembered your absence too. The silence that didn't feel empty, but heavy with unspoken emotions. And as they lay there, restless and vulnerable, they whispered into the darkness, "Do they feel this too?" That question kept them awake. Because they don't know your true feelings. They don't know how deeply you think of them. They don't know how often you check your phone hoping for them. They don't know how many times you rehearse words you never send. All they know is that they feel something they can no longer run from. Around 3 a.m., your soulmate gave up on sleep. They sat near their window, watching the quiet world outside, wondering why the universe keeps pulling them toward you. They felt a mixture of peace and panic. Peace, because thinking of you brought comfort. Panic, because now they couldn't imagine moving forward without you in their life. The night made everything clear. They realized that every time they tried to forget you, their heart only remembered you more. Every time they tried to convince themselves that the connection was one-sided, their spirit reminded them of the warmth they feel whenever your name crosses their mind. It wasn't obsession. It wasn't fantasy. It wasn't confusion. It was soul memory. A recognition so deep it lives beneath logic, beneath thought, beneath the physical world. My beloved soul, your soulmate didn't just lose sleep. They were being guided. The universe was whispering truths they needed to face. And the biggest truth of all was this: they are more emotionally attached to you than they ever expected to be. That is why their chest felt heavy. That is why their breath felt uneven. That is why their mind felt too loud and their heart felt too exposed. They are realizing that no matter where life takes them, you hold a place in them that no one else can touch. This feeling frightened them, not because it was wrong, but because it was real. Real feelings. Real connection. Real energy. Real love. The kind of real that keeps you awake at night. But my beloved soul, there is something deeper, something you also need to hear. They didn't just think about you last night. They wondered about the future. Your future. Their future. A future where maybe, just maybe, your paths do not drift apart but come closer, slowly, naturally, beautifully. They imagined conversations you never had. Moments you never shared. Smiles you never exchanged but one day could. Something inside them whispered, if I lose them, I will regret it. And that thought was the one that shook them the hardest. My beloved soul, they don't want to lose you. Even if they haven't said it. Even if they act distant sometimes. Even if they're scared of their own emotions. Their soul knows your soul. And last night, their soul was the one speaking. That is why they could not sleep. Because somewhere between midnight and dawn, they realized you are the person they cannot forget even if they tried. And that realization changed something inside them forever. My beloved soul. The night that kept your soulmate awake did not end with simple thoughts. It became something deeper, a conversation between their heart and their truth. Even after the sky began to soften with the first faint, sleepy glow of morning, they still could not rest. Their body was tired, but their spirit felt awake in a way it never had before. They realized something important, something they were scared to admit. They cannot imagine their life without the energy you bring into it. Not because they depend on you, not because they need someone to fill an emptiness, but because you bring a kind of peace that they can't find anywhere else. As the early morning light entered their room, they leaned back against their bed frame and closed their eyes for a moment. But peace did not come. Instead, they felt that familiar pull toward you, the same pull that kept them up all night. They whispered into the quiet morning air, softly, almost embarrassed, "Why does it hurt when I imagine them not being in my life?" That question alone carried the weight of everything they were feeling. Your soulmate is not just thinking about the past or the present. They are thinking about your place in their life in a way they never allowed themselves to before. Something inside them is shifting. My beloved soul, you need to understand something important. Your soulmate is not careless with their heart. They are not someone who gives their feelings away easily. They protect themselves, sometimes too much, sometimes more than necessary. They have been hurt before. They have trusted the wrong people. They have invested in connections that left them alone with their own disappointment. So when they felt something for you, it scared them. Not because you did anything wrong, but because you made them feel something real. And real emotions are the ones they guard the most. That is why they tried to ignore it. That is why they distracted themselves. That is why they pretended the connection was lighter than it truly is. But last night shattered the walls they had built around their heart. They finally faced a truth that has lived inside them for a long time. They care about you in a deeper, gentler, and more genuine way than they wanted to admit. As the sun slowly rose, your soulmate rubbed their eyes and stood up with a heavy sigh. They walked around their room, running their hands through their hair, trying to calm the storm inside them. They looked at their phone. They wanted to reach out to you. They wanted to message you, call you, or at least say something small, something like, "Hey, how are you?" just to feel your presence. But they stopped themselves. Why? Because they were scared their emotions would show too clearly. They were scared you would sense the shift. They were scared of being too obvious, too vulnerable, too honest. They don't want to overwhelm you. They don't want to pressure you. They don't want to say the wrong thing. So instead, they put their phone down and whispered, "Not yet, but soon." They need a moment to understand what this awakening means for them. My beloved soul, your soulmate didn't just think about you, they felt you. They felt your energy, your kindness, your warmth, your silence, your absence, your presence. Everything came rushing at them at once. They remembered the little things, the way your words feel calming even when you're not trying to be. The way your energy stays gentle even when you're going through something yourself. The way you make them feel seen without them having to explain anything. That is rare. That is powerful. That is the kind of connection you don't walk away from easily. And your soulmate finally understands this. Around mid-morning, your soulmate felt something strange, a mix of courage and fear. Their heart told them they want to take a step closer to you. They want to open up. They want to express what they've been holding in. They want to break the distance that has been sitting silently between you and them. But then another thought hit them, and it stopped them cold. What if they don't feel the same? That fear has always been the biggest reason they held back. They don't want to lose you. They don't want to ruin the connection. They don't want to say something that makes you pull away. So instead of rushing in with emotions, they spent the morning thinking deeply, trying to understand how you might feel. They wondered. Do you stay awake thinking about them too? Do you feel nervous when their name pops up? Do you miss them on days when nothing feels right? Do you replay moments in your head the same way they do? Do your emotions whisper their name even when you try to stay focused on your day? They don't know the answer because they have never asked. They haven't had the courage to. But now that they've finally faced their own truth, they are beginning to hope. My beloved soul, there is something else that kept them restless. Regret. Not because they did something wrong, but because they feel they should have shown you more care. More appreciation. More warmth. More effort. More presence. They are replaying moments when they kept themselves distant even though they wanted to be close. They remember the messages they wanted to send but didn't. The conversations they wanted to start but held back from. The emotions they wanted to express but feared would expose too much of their heart. Last night made them see how much they held inside. And now they wish they hadn't waited so long. They are realizing that the connection they share with you is something they should have nurtured with more honesty. But do not misunderstand, they are not drowning in regret. They are awakening from it. And they are ready to do things differently. As afternoon approached, your soulmate felt a new kind of clarity. Not the clarity that brings peace immediately, but the clarity that prepares the heart for change. They realize they have two choices: close their heart and pretend last night was nothing more than confusion. Or take a step toward you, a small, gentle, cautious step, one that could lead to something real. And for the first time in a long time, they are ready to choose courage. They are ready to explore this connection without running from it, without repressing it, without pretending it is less than what it truly is. They want to know you more deeply. They want to listen more closely. They want to show up with more transparency and less fear. Your soulmate is entering a stage where they want to be present with you instead of distant, where they want to express instead of suppress, where they want to connect instead of avoid. My beloved soul, let me tell you something you may not realize. Your soulmate didn't toss and turn because of uncertainty. They tossed and turned because your absence felt heavier than ever. And that heaviness showed them the truth: they miss you. More deeply than words can explain. They miss your energy. They miss your comfort. They miss your voice, your presence, your calmness. They miss the way you make them feel like the world is not as overwhelming as it sometimes is. They miss the unique sense of peace that only you bring into their life. And now that they've realized this, they are starting to feel a need to move closer to you. Not in a rushed way. Not in a dramatic way. But in a thoughtful, sincere, heart-centered way. As the day continued, your soulmate found themselves drifting into thoughts of you over and over again. Every small thing reminded them of you. A song. A familiar scent. A message notification. A passing memory. A moment of silence. Everything connected back to you. This is not just emotional attachment. This is resonance. Your energy resonates with theirs in a way no one else's does. And that resonance is becoming impossible for them to ignore. They have reached a point where they are no longer just thinking of you, they are feeling you in every corner of their day. This realization is powerful. And it is guiding them toward a decision that will bring both of you closer than before. My beloved soul, I will tell you the truth plainly: your soulmate is preparing to open their heart to you. They are preparing to express what they once hid. They are preparing to show you a deeper part of themselves. They are preparing to reach out with more intention and less hesitation. Last night began the awakening. Today continues the shift. And soon, you will feel the change in their energy. They are stepping out of fear and into feeling. They are stepping out of confusion and into clarity. They are stepping out of distance and into connection. And all of this, every restless thought, every sleepless hour, every emotion they faced, was because their heart kept whispering your name. They couldn't ignore it anymore. My beloved soul. The day your soulmate spent after that sleepless night was unlike any other. Every thought they had was colored by you. Every feeling they experienced seemed to circle back to the same truth they finally faced in the dark. And yet, instead of pulling away from these emotions, they found themselves surrendering to them with a softness they never allowed before. They didn't want to fight their feelings anymore. They didn't want to pretend anymore. They didn't want to silence their heart anymore. Because everything inside them whispered, over and over again, this connection matters. This person matters. You matter. As the afternoon sun shifted, your soulmate sat alone in a quiet room, thinking about the meaning of it all. They kept asking themselves, why now? Why last night? Why did everything hit me all at once? But the more they questioned, the more they realized the truth. Their heart had been speaking for a long time, but last night, they finally listened. Your energy has been gently growing inside them, not suddenly, not loudly, but in a way that slowly became impossible to ignore. They remembered all the small details they once overlooked, the comfort they feel when you speak, the peace they feel when you listen, the spark of joy when your name appears, the sudden silence in their mind when they imagine your presence. These were not accidents. These were signs. And last night was the moment all those signs formed a single clear truth. My beloved soul, your soulmate is beginning to realize that their fear was never about you. Their fear was about losing control of their heart. They've always believed that loving someone deeply means giving someone the power to hurt you. So they protected themselves. They built walls. They kept a safe distance. But you slipped through the cracks without trying. Your kindness, your softness, your sincerity, your presence, they slipped under their defenses and made a home in their heart before they even realized it. And the moment they understood this, their world shifted. Late in the day, your soulmate found themselves staring at their reflection, not looking at their face, but looking into their own eyes. Trying to understand themselves. Trying to make sense of this new feeling. And then a quiet thought rose inside them, a thought so honest that it made their breath pause. I think I'm falling for them. This wasn't the dramatic kind of realization people show in movies. It wasn't explosive or overwhelming. It was gentle. Warm. Truthful. A truth that lived inside them long before they spoke it, even to themselves. They stood there for a long moment, letting that thought settle, letting that truth expand inside their chest. They didn't feel fear this time. They felt relief. Because now they finally understood why last night felt so heavy. It was their heart breaking open in the most beautiful way. My beloved soul, you need to know something important. Your soulmate is not confused anymore. The exhaustion, the tossing, the turning, they were not signs of uncertainty. They were signs of awakening. Your soulmate has realized that you are not just someone they think of, you are someone they feel connected to in a way that goes beyond logic. They feel drawn to you the way rivers feel drawn to the ocean, naturally, effortlessly, undeniably. This connection lives inside them like a quiet melody that plays even when everything else is silent. And now that they've recognized it, they can't imagine ignoring it again. As evening approached, your soulmate felt a pull, a strong, unexpected urge to be honest with you. For the first time, they wanted to speak from their heart without filtering themselves, without hiding behind fear or pride. They wanted to say things like, I care about you. I think about you more than I admit. You matter to me. You make me feel calm. You make my days better. I want you in my life. But even though the emotions were rising, something held them back. Not fear this time, but respect. They want to speak to you the right way. They want their words to be sincere, soft, genuine. They don't want to rush. They don't want to overwhelm. They don't want to send a message that comes from impulsive emotions. They want to express from a place of clarity. So they decided to wait for the right moment. A moment where they can speak to you openly, honestly, fully. A moment where their heart can finally meet yours with transparency. But as they waited for that moment, another thought came to them, a thought that deepened their emotions even more. What if they've been waiting for me to open up too? This idea struck them deeply. They realized that you may also be carrying unspoken feelings. You may be waiting quietly. You may be hoping for clarity. You may be feeling the same pull but holding back for the same reasons they did. And suddenly, their heart ached. Because the last thing they want is for you to feel alone in this connection. They don't want you wondering whether you matter. They don't want you doubting yourself. They don't want you thinking this bond is one-sided. They want to reassure you. They want to comfort you. They want to ease your uncertainty. And last night showed them something important. They care about your feelings just as much as their own. My beloved soul, as the night returned, your soulmate finally lay down again, hoping sleep would come more easily this time. But sleep did not come instantly. Because even though they felt clearer, their heart was still full of emotions they've held for too long. They turned onto their side, closed their eyes, and breathed deeply. And the first image that appeared in their mind was you. Your smile. Your voice. Your energy. Your presence. It felt like their spirit reached out for you in the quiet darkness. They whispered to themselves, softly enough that only their heart could hear, "I wish they were here." It wasn't a wish for romance or anything physical. It was a wish for peace, the kind of peace that your presence gives them so effortlessly. They wished they could lay beside you and let that calm energy wash over both of you. Not for anything dramatic, just to breathe together. Just to exist together. Just to feel connected without words. As they drifted through their emotions, your soulmate remembered moments when they had the chance to show you how much you mattered, but they stayed silent. And suddenly, they felt something they rarely let themselves feel: vulnerability. Not weakness, but the soft kind of vulnerability that comes when the heart begins to trust. They realized you make them want to be better. More present. More expressive. More open. They realized your connection is changing them, not by force, but by gentle influence. You make them want to grow. You make them want to be honest. You make them want to show up. You make them want to give love instead of hiding from it. And this realization was like a warm light spreading inside their chest. My beloved soul, you need to understand this. your soulmate is not the same person they were before last night. Something inside them opened. Something inside them softened. Something inside them awakened. They are stepping into a new emotional space, one where they feel brave enough to explore this connection with you instead of running from it. They are ready to give this bond the attention it deserves. They are ready to express more openly. They are ready to move closer. And soon, very soon, you will feel their energy shift. Their actions will become gentler. Their words will carry more intention. Their presence will feel warmer. You will sense that they are no longer hesitating. Because last night changed them. And today confirmed it. Their heart is choosing you, not out of need, not out of fear, not out of loneliness, but out of truth. A truth they can no longer deny.